Howdy, hi, good morning, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we have an interesting topic. I think it's that's Boomer barking in the background. If you can hear my dog, then hi. This is Boomer. I have a nice little German Shepherd here. That is my guard dog. So, um, Boomer. So we're here talking about an interesting topic this month. I think is if you follow like the Joe Rogan guys or any of the Your Mom's House guys, so Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Ari Shafir, these guys, they do every single October do a sober October, right? And so I have decided, and then associated with the lack of alcohol and other substances, they also introduced a specific challenge of the month per the year. So I know a couple years ago, I think they did like 15 hot yoga classes in the month. This year, I did. I'm doing the no alcohol for the month, and then I did 6 days of fasting. So my goal was 7, I made it to 6. I started having some jaundice, so my yellowing of my eyes, my liver started to do not so happy things, and I started
Whoa.
to wonder how much influence the alcohol that I've had in my life has influenced my inability to be able to process fats very well inside my liver. So if maybe I'm going to get my test done here shortly, maybe have fatty liver disease or some just damage to the liver that's happened over the long period of time here of consuming alcohol. So we have Clifford in today talking a little bit about just I think men's health overall. I think all people can kind of take from healthy habits in general, but then also learning about what the booze vacation is. And so Clifford, thank you for coming on, sharing with us a little bit of your story and some fun facts for us today.
Hey Ben, thanks for having me on. Sounds like you could be a candidate for Boots Vacation with that profile.
I
How,
probably
how
could.
much? How much? Just kind of regular recreational drinking, a few beers on the week during the work week, and maybe a few more on the weekend, or what was your typical pattern? Just
It kind
curious.
of depends. So during college, it was much more aggressive than that. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, we're talking about, um, oh man, it's hard to put a number towards it, but I would say probably an average of about 5 to 10 beers a day, and sometimes obviously more, sometimes less, sometimes not at all. I was competing for, 'cause I was competing in powerlifting at the time, so I think like that
Right.
competitive nature is just it's intense, and I think that a lot of times the more I talk to other coaches and other people who are elite athletes, I competed for Team USA, so you have this level of like dopamine that you're receiving from being on this big stage of competing in front of all these people, and then you kind of lose that, and then now you're like, man, where can I find that next kind of similar hit or fix of that, winning those gold medals and being able to say that you're competing at an elite level. And so it turned out to, I think I rationalized my consumption of alcohol by getting into creating um, my own syrups and my own cocktails. I took cocktail classes. I hosted cocktail classes, so it was like a whole selling point for me. And I really enjoyed the experience behind like creating the fixings that can go into my cocktail, and then I get to create something new or fun to actually consume. So like, yeah, I've created the syrups, and then I go ahead and add in then I had to add in the booze afterwards to make maybe like a Mai Tai, and then I get really into making Mai Tais and trying to perfect that recipe, and then. Well, I mean, I have to taste them, right? Obviously. So then I have, 3, 4, sometimes I would say on average about 3 a day after my time in college is right about my probably a good average.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, you're in our sweet spot. Um, I played water polo, and yeah, I think pretty much any guy growing up, um, pretty embedded in the culture, and yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of good times, and you're gonna find it everywhere. And as you age and with wear and tear, and yeah, especially when you've worked out intensely, whether you're weightlifting, water polo, you're really doing a ton of conditioning, and then you get a 9 to 5 or whatever, family, and you're kind of still eating kind of, for sport and drinking for sport. And yeah, your body doesn't respond as well. And it could be a little tricky because I think you're kind of still trying to keep that same identity. You're still that same person, but circumstances have changed. So it could be kind of a little bit of a minefield to get through for sure.
It's tough, man. It's hard to get out of that lifestyle. I mean, it's it's fun. Like, right, I think we see it as the immediate, like, oh, it's gratifying. It's a good time hanging out with the boys, just shooting the shit, and then we get to wake up, and then oddly enough, get to do it all over again. And the older I got, I was like, dude, I have 2 drinks and I feel foggy in the mornings, and it got to the point where I guess it was like I continue to say I'm going to stop because I feel the effects of even just having 1 or 2 drinks in an evening, and I wake up the next day and I'm working with clients or I'm communicating with people, and I'm like, man, I got to go for a run. I got to like recharge a little bit or restart my engines, and then I can operate as a human.
Yep. Yep. No, that's our sweet spot. And yeah, that similar story. Yeah, just started partying in high school, played a bunch of sports. Yeah, it was just super um, sitting shotgun in all of our events and activities and misadventures. And yeah, you really kind of have a shared, reward system with your buddies and your activities and adventures. And yeah, whatever it is, we were kind of more beer, but we didn't get as heavy into the cocktails. But yeah, you can kind of go down those rat holes of this IPA or that IPA. And the other thing that's funny about whether it's beer or whether it's cocktails, I mean, a lot of them have 2 or 3 servings per drink. So just the whole moderation and all that nonsense, I just really don't think it is very applicable to guys, just because no one's tracking. And if you are, you're kind of a schmuck. So it's like, it's just the whole system is kind of setting us up to self-destruct. And I kind of had to come to terms with that because I had no intention of stopping. But yeah, I just had a pretty decent barometer of looking and feeling good and taking good care of myself, and then having that kind of start to erode into my late 30s, early 40s. And so I kind of had that moment where it's like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. So I took a year off, and yeah, it was just so impactful and kind of the key to happiness and the fountain of youth. And started to have those conversations with my buddies that they know and trust and like me. And still, it was very difficult to even have those conversations, just because I think, and as you're kind of hitting on, hey, it's fun and it's a reward system, but I kind of, if you can step away, I think you get some really powerful insights. And so it's not sobriety, it's not pointing fingers or pushing sobriety. And a lot of my peers aren't looking for that. I'm not either. But ultimately, without kind of a purposeful break where you're getting 3 to 6 month minimum, because it takes your neurocircuitry several months to kind of normalize, you're really not getting a say in the matter. You're kind of in this predictive model that is, like I said, it's increased stress, it's low testosterone, it's poor sleep, it's chronic inflammation, it's missed workouts, it's overeating, it's just unhealthy habits in general. And so that shit adds up over time. And it starts precipitating pre-disease, starts precipitating more chronic disease states as you get into your 40s and 50s. And once you kind of hit those thresholds and start dealing with diabetes or cancers or cardiac events, arrhythmias, it's like, get out your checkbook and go hang out with your doctor and pharmacist. But it's just not a lot of fun. And yeah, it really impacts your earning potential and your relationships and your fun. And if we're doing it for fun, I think it could be the perfect crime to kind of get a little smarter with your alcohol use by knowing how to enjoy yourself without it. And yeah, kind of turning off a lot of those negative feedback loops that guys can easily get stuck in. And so that was kind of the impetus behind creating this, ultimately, I think a health and wellness movement, just because, like I said, I think it's so easy and quick to get fantastic results when you take a break from alcohol, because you're just able to kind of vastly improve a lot of these core foundational systems like your sleep and your diet and your mindset and your habits, and start stacking up wins and losing the weight and getting stronger, and getting better in business and making more money, and waking up feeling great. Kids habit forming as well, just like anything. And I think a lot of the fun and association with alcohol is, it is a depressant, and it does, screw up your sleep and your hormones and your drive and your libido. And so I think it really keeps a lot of guys stuck in kind of these survival mode states, even if they're crushing it with work and business and have great families. On paper, the day to day, you're usually not feeling very good. You're usually not getting as much done. You're not as focused because your brain's like shrunk and frazzled, and so it really creates these negative states where you want to escape, and you want to get to the weekend or to the game or whatever it is. And so yeah, you kind of get stuck in these negative loops where the reward and the relief is kind of perpetuates this system of drudgery. And so yeah, and then with tolerance and age, you start drinking more, and that just precipitates kind of further erosion of health and wellness and lifestyle stuff, like looking and feeling good and performing well.
You said a couple times already, and this is one of my questions, but like you said a lot of good things in there. Um, you said you're in our sweet spot. You know what do you mean by? Part of it's like I don't know that I like this, man. Like
No, yeah. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. Yeah. So you're on the cusp, but no, and like I said, I think, I mean, I'm 51. I'd say our sweet spot is kind of 30s to 50s. I think a lot of the millennials, they have dating apps, and they have weed, and they have all this stuff that we didn't have, where, back in the day we'd have to get buzzed and try to talk to girls, and now you have all these apps and stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, it's inherent in the system. And so you start in high school, you go to college, and it's this work hard, play hard, mentality. Then you get out, and then it's like, hey, cool, now I got my own fridge, and out of the house, and so it really perpetuates. And it's kind of like your 401k. The sooner you can figure this out and get smarter with your drinking. And again, it's not about not drinking; it's about kind of drinking much less and kind of staying out of these negative feedback loops. It's, in particular, when you're like binging on a regular basis, you're just really kind of messing up a lot of systems, and you're really ensuring that you're not going to stop. It's a very predictive model. So if you're going big on the weekends, you're going to go big the next weekend, because like I said, for the same reasons, as far as those lower states, um and yeah, just trying to feel good and blow off some steam with the buddies. And it's going to be at all the events anyways. So um yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
I felt like as I started to be around people who were making more money, it became much more of a not a necessary item, but always an accoutrement to any party. It was I mean, we'd close, a couple $1 million deal, and then here we are, everybody's at the bar, everyone's getting drunk, everyone's having a good time, and everybody takes kind of the weekend to recover, and then we're back on Monday, and it's like a conversation in the office. It's like, oh man, that Friday night was pretty wild, wasn't it? It's like, oh man, I felt terrible Saturday morning, but I got up and I went for my workout and I did my thing, and then now you're back on the grind, and then you're having the conversations in the office, and then all of a sudden you're sitting down having your meeting, and everyone's like, all right, everyone had a good weekend, yeah, okay, now let's get back to it, right? And it what started to get me was, and I think you said it, it's you can make more money. And like if you tell any person who's like a high achieving individual, like no, like you can make more money and feel better if you just drank less. And it's like, wait, you're telling me all you got to do is have less alcohol and I'm going to make more money? Clifford, sign me up. Like, what are we doing here? And then it was also honestly wow, what's the word? As superficial as it may be, I was like, man, that's a lot of calories. I mean, that's like 150 to 200 calories of some straight sugar every single time I'm consuming. And for me, like hard that became more and more of an eye opener for me. I was like, man, I can't lose weight. Alcohol increases estrogen, and so I'm retaining more fat, and then increases cortisol, and then like it's just nothing of this is really good. It really is a poison in the brain, and
Yeah.
I like my brain. Like I like I need it for this kind of stuff. I work in exercise physiology, so it's like I need to be like kind of spot on. I'm dealing with people's bodies. Like it's hard just to drink and then slack off, and then the next day the person that ultimately loses is not just me, but it's also the clientele that I'm servicing.
Yeah. And it's funny, you said something that one of the epiphanies I had by drinking for 30 years and loving it and being a part of that in corporate America and with your buddies and everywhere is kind of like what gets you to levels of success, kind of in your 20s and 30s, is it what's going to keep you there in your 40s and 50s. So that's again it's kind of the Twilight Zone episode that you're stepping into, because it's like it's going to stop working the same way, because you're full of piss and vinegar when you're younger and you have more horsepower. You can kind of overcome all that. And yeah, it's camaraderie and hey, I got that deal because I was drinking with that guy at this party and whatever, and some liquid courage or whatever it is. But ultimately, as you get to levels of success, it stops working the same way, and no one gets the memo. So now you're a different person. Now you're not a kid anymore. Now you have more success, you have more money, you have more responsibility, you have more wear and tear. And so if you're going to try to play the same game you're playing in high school or college or whatever, it's not going to work as well. And ultimately, it's going to be your undoing. And not only will it impact the success you have, but it'll also impact, your gratitude around it and you being present in those states to really enjoy it. And then it'll really shorten the time in which you're at those peak states, because, again, you get hit with, you know, chronic disease in your 40s or 50s. It's like, it's not game over, but it ain't ever going to be the same again. And that's a damn shame. And it's something I'm not cool with. And that's why we started Booze Vacation, to help guys figure this out, because it is so inherent in the system that, wherever you go, yeah, like you said, it's like, got the deal, lost the deal, got the girl, lost the girl, like whatever. Like it's Tuesday, it's football, it's like you don't need too much of an excuse. Oh, we got some in the fridge from this weekend, like whatever. It's and as long as that association with fun and friends and events and a reward system is perpetuated, you know, again, people are going to be in different spectrums of their usage and other habits, but ultimately it's going to negatively affect them all. And so it's just a matter of, and again, we're talking more long-term stuff, but yeah, it could also, really kick you in the nuts. Like, whatever, you get a DUI, you do something inappropriate with a coworker. Like, I mean, you fall out of a cab and hit your head and get a brain injury. Like my buddies have done that. Like you jump off a roof and break your back, like, missing the pool. My buddies have done that. Like all kinds of like, fun and games can go pretty south,
Yeah,
in the wrong conditions.
I mean, I think we all know people that are way too close to us that either have had DUIs, or have accidentally, not accidentally, got behind the wheel and it didn't end up just bad for them, but bad for somebody else. Uh, I've definitely been in that position where I've definitely driven behind the wheel, and I'm kind of, I know not necessarily something to be proud of, but it's definitely happened, and it's not like I'm the only one, and so it is what it is. It doesn't make you better or
It's
worse.
part of the system again. Like if it's there, like if you're at the event, like you got to get home, like you're probably not going to plan ahead for all these things. And so again, it's part of the system.
It's
And
also
yeah,
it's hard to say no. Like, oh, I'm gonna get like not necessarily a taxi, but I'm gonna get an Uber, and people are like, dude, just I'll drive us. Like, don't worry about it. And it's like,
yeah,
no, like I really, it's like, do you not trust me? And I'm like, fuck, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just that like I just you just never know, man. Like I'd rather just get somebody else to do it. And it's
yeah.
like,
You
oh,
think back,
come on,
you think
dude.
back of all your sketchy situations you put yourself into, where like you're kind of out of your skull. Even though we're semi-responsible and whatever, have good jobs and careers and families, but you can really get put in some sketchy situations that you wouldn't normally want to have anything to do with.
I think we look at it as like, oh, that wouldn't happen to me. Like that's for someone of lower status, lower class. I'm not that bad. Like, come on. But in the moment, you're just as bad. You know, like there's no difference. It's just it might be a different car, but there's no difference between the act of what you're doing.
Yeah, and the kind of the funny part is, I think some of my peers that have really crushed it and really did really well, whether it's with the stocks or businesses or real estate, again, they're in the system where you know if you crush it, you celebrate, and if you celebrate with alcohol, like everybody on the planet, you could really wind up perpetuating those negative outcomes a lot faster. Unfortunately, because you have more time and more vacations and these fancier parties and these fancier bottles that you got to try, blah blah blah, and so it winds up being, yeah, just accelerates. You get to the top and you're just falling off the back before you even enjoy it. And again, it's just it's a bad system.
How do you propose that people get out of that system? That like how do they finally realize? I mean, are they already thinking about moving out of that lifestyle, and you're just over here trying to like, okay, like, hey, like we're a place that can help with that, um, or are you advocating to other individuals like, hey, everyone should like slow down, stop, and then also if you want to use us as a help, then awesome, we're here as a help, but ultimately like overall good for the community to just slow down the consumption.
Yeah. So to break that down, obviously there's got to be some, I hate to use the word education, there's got to be some awareness around the problems. And, you're kind of hitting on some of the obvious ones: lower testosterone, more fat, more cortisol, more stress. Poor sleep is going to, yeah, you're going to eat more. You're going to, you're going to choose worse foods. You're going to eat more of them. So it's going to create a lot of inflammation. So there's just so many negative feedback loops that are predictive that you really can't get out of, depending upon, no matter like what your position is or how much money you have in the bank or how many times you fly to Hawaii. So it's, and it is lifestyle and diet and lifestyle stuff. And so this VC guy I talked to is way smarter than me. He said people will only change lifestyle for, and he's kind of using a church as an example. And he said 10% is invitation and 90% is situation. And so Booze Vacation is kind of set up to be that invitation, be like, hey dude, check this out, and it's free. We have tools and resources. You can start getting smarter with your drinking today. And when you're ready, you can take a free vacation. And then, so that's an invitation part. So yeah, that definitely works. Like I've hit guys on the golf course at the right day and they're like, I'm in, did it. Like they're still on it like 2.5 years later, crushing it with their business, never want to get off it. That's not the intent. You got to ultimately choose your own adventure, but you know, you need the asshole to be like, hey dude, you're complaining, you look stressed, you're saying you're making all this money, but you're sitting there, you're looking all stressed and all haggard, like you're not aligned. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you should take a break. And so there's the invitation part and there's also the situation part. And the situation part is you're in a system that's going to accelerate and erode your health and lifestyle. And if you're doing it for fun, maybe you should learn how to do it without it. And so, ultimately it's really about giving guys something that they don't currently have in the system, and that's a choice. And you don't get that choice unless you actually get a little awareness and then ultimately sack up and take, we do 3 to 12 month vacations is what we call them. And, 1 month, I think they're a terrible idea. They're, you know, usually the dependence, the withdrawal, dependence, cravings, the first 2 to 3 weeks. So that's very hard and awkward. And then, you start feeling good and then you stop immediately. And so short, you can sit there and mope around and wait out the clock, and you don't really have to change much. And, you just learn a lot about habits like, hey, that sucked. That wasn't any fun. And then you go right back to drinking right after that. So you really, the science says you need to, 2 to 6 months minimum to kind of rewire the neural circuitry in your brain. Like you've permanently like increased stress hormones and all these different things. And so, yeah, you kind of have to give it time. And then also socially, you need to get the at bats and be able to like navigate socially and learn how to have fun without it. And, it's not that hard. It just requires you. It's like anything, you got to do it. And there's some great non-alcoholic beers and cocktails, and so you might not stay at the party till 4 in the morning, but you can go home early and go have some sex and get up early and hit the weekend running. And your buddies that were there till 4 in the morning are moping around on the couch watching reruns and having unproductive weeks. And it's like it's not the best return on your money, especially when the fun part of alcohol is really the first 20 to 30 minutes, or maybe like the increase in blood alcohol level up until like maybe 5 drinks, and then like your frontal cortex is literally shutting down, and you're like the tape's not even running anymore. You're just kind of like you're just kind of out there. And so yeah, it's so the solution is taking that 3 to 12 month break. And you know and it's not about not drinking, but it's about stacking up all these wins, losing the weight, looking better, feeling better, making more money, having better relationships, picking up some hobbies you used to do, or getting into some new stuff, and stacking up so many wins that once your vacation's over, you're like, whoa, this is killer. Like, I want to keep going, or I'm not going to give up on this stuff because like I just earned it. This is killer. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to drink less or not at all. So
You you make it sound like a better version of AA. Like, Alcoholic Anonymous is like at the very end of this, like, oh my God, I've lost my family, I've destroyed everything in my life. Versus Booze Vacation sounds like a little bit more of a proactive venture out into. I can kind of see where this can lead, and so what can I do now to double down on my relationships, my aesthetics, my life, that ultimately will prove to have a better release of dopamine over the long-term effect and have compound effects that will last me, the rest of my life, decrease Alzheimer's. I think just the idea of better sleep, I mean, is a good one. And this 1 month stint, you're the more that I'm into this 1 month, and I don't know, we're like not even a month. We're 2 weeks in, whatever date is, the 10th or 11th.
yeah.
Like I have definitely thought more and more about, man, like I should continue to do this. And if the research is saying that you need 2 to 6 months, then at least three. And so why the 2 to 6 months? I know you're talking about some neural circuitry changing, balancing the hormones. What exactly can you go into detail of what that is?
Um, yeah, I came up with this 3 to 12 month break because, like, yeah, me and my buddies, we try to cut back. We take off a month here and there, and just never did anything. It was kind of this, oh, I proved I could do it. Again, it's just a bunch of bad lessons you learn. Um, so I sacked up and did a month, and I did a year, and obviously it's going to depend, right? Like, if you've been drinking for 10 years and not that much, it's different than if you've been drinking for 20 years and you're drinking kind of more at my peer levels. It sounds like you were at
Yeah.
college levels. And so, yeah, because I mean, just like anything, like the more down the road you are, the more time you need to kind of heal your body, as well as kind of just relearn how to navigate socially. And again, it's really an update of the operating system, because like me, I was very extroverted, and yeah, I loved to drink with my buddies, and so I was like a chicken with my head cut off when it came to all these activities and events. And some were misses, but I was still having some beers and having fun. But as you kind of lean into yourself a little bit more and get a little bit more fit and have a little bit more time and space and more time, money, energy to kind of, build yourself, yeah, you're going to start kind of going in different directions. That doesn't mean you don't hang out with your buddies or whatever, but things do change. And there's trade-offs, but yeah. And so that's kind of just part of this adventure. But, ultimately, we are not serving alcoholics. We have no expertise in that area. I'm just kind of hitting my peer groups that are kind of semi-responsible recreational drinkers. Some will say, "Oh yeah, that's me," and they'll try it, and they'll start they could very well have serious withdrawal episodes, and they might discover that, oops, I'm a little bit deeper than I thought. And again, that's cool too. Just go to a resource that can help you better. But that's something good to know before your wife leaves you, or before you have liver failure, or whatever. And so, yeah, we're trying to address it kind of before. And the term alcoholism is kind of dated because it's like I have so many buddies that are very functionally you know sophisticated jobs, like they could pull it off, but like their blood
Yep.
work's crap, their medicine cabinet's full, and they're not they're kind of they're at risk, and so and that's not cool, and I don't like where that's headed, and so it's you gotta hopefully figure that out, and like I said, you could use that time to really kind of start restoring your health and get used to looking and feeling good, because like I said, I think guys get conditioned to kind of look and feel like crap, and they're kind of okay with it, and they kind of try to jimmy it up with some more coffee and whatever, fast food, whatever it is, nicotine, kind of stack it on, whatever. um, so we're trying to break some of those cycles, and kind of keep it simple, get the community together. I think some of the big challenges, what am I going to do? Again, I think they associate it with part of their identity, part of their fun and wild side, and so it's kind of rediscovering themselves and building themselves up, and figuring out how they want to operate with it, after vacation. Which again, I don't think the solution is, oh, you can never have a drink again. Like that's again not relevant to my peers. And if I said that's the solution, like I would get zero takers. Um, but it's kind of just giving them that choice where right now they don't have it.
It's just like we created a community where we're just trying to give our bodies some time to breathe, and we can kind of get together, we can do this whole thing together, and it's 6 to 12 months, or 3 to 12 months, and you can stay in it for however long you want. And if you come to your own realizations in this time, which we're confident that you will, then like it'll get figured out.
Yeah, and just making it fun and aspirational. It's not like we're not giving you any tools or resources. We've thought through a lot of the stuff around, what non-alcoholic beers we like, what to say, how to say it when, someone asks why you're not drinking. And, kind of a lot of healthy habit stuff around diet and sleep and fitness. So we really want to accelerate the gain, so you start looking and feeling great right out of the gates, after a few weeks, and you're like, whoa, I'm already seeing this. I'm already noticing that. You go to a party and people are like, whoa, you look different. Your face isn't as round, your eyes are clearer. There's a lot of noticeable wins. And so just kind of get them in that momentum. So get that flywheel turning in the right direction. And then, it's just kind of, again, it's ultimately a choose your own adventure, but you're just going to be doing a lot more activities and looking and feeling better. And when it comes to longevity, another thing that came out that's pretty important is men should have testosterone. They should be lifting heavy things. They should be gaining muscle mass, because you're going to lose that on the backside of 50. So if you're not taking care of that now, like a slip and fall in your 60s could lead to an infection and a bunch of other stuff, and then you're just losing additional muscle mass. And like even if you like pull it off, like your quality of life is going to be pretty crap. You're going to have a lot of aches and pains and strains and not getting around much, and not very fun. So
You're talking
now's the
about
time. Now's the time. Use it or lose it.
You're talking about the classic, you break a hip, you get bacterial meningitis, and then you're shit out of luck. Either you die or you don't walk very well, or my grandfather had not he didn't have an injury necessarily. He had gotten bacterial meningitis. I forgot, he was in there for, I think, some I don't know what he was in there for, to be honest with you, but he ended up having bacterial meningitis, and it was pretty large deal. I mean, he's 70 years old at the time, and now I guess like 76, and overall came out with a little bit of fatigue, but he's worked out for all of his life. Like back home, he had an entire a home gym built, and we had all the weights, and he was always in there every day. And I think that it makes me feel good knowing that I've worked out and I will continue to work out. I wonder, with all this extra time, like 3 to 6 months of like not almost revolving my life around alcohol or events or beer crawls or brunch or whatever it may be, like are other people like I can get into a lot of really cool, like I love pickleball. I want to play pickleball. That's one thing. CrossFit is another kind of like a venture that I would like to take and compete into. Fighting, right? You have all this extra time to do all these other activities. Like these people who are in this lifestyle, I think traditionally tend to have some addictive personalities, right? That's why they lean towards. I mean, I think most humans do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like it's only these people, but it manifests itself through alcohol and then business, right? And so you lose the alcohol, and now it's like the extreme of business. And so, how are you like guiding people to not just sacrifice or use one addictive thing for trade one negative addictive thing for the other?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because like a lot of my buddies are, fair amount of them are triathletes, or there's some weed and some nicotine along with alcohol, and so um, you know, as far as again, it's your own call, but my drive is to really figure out the alcohol, because the alcohol just precipitates so many negative habits and so many kind of lowered states that you want to change. And yeah, and so if a guy was doing, for example, drinking quite a bit and did a little weed and did a little nicotine, I would say let's start with the alcohol, and yeah, maybe switch to gums, or not vaping, not smoking, but yeah, gums, lozenges, whatever, edibles. And, that's a tool in your tool belt, so you can kind of still get out of your head a little bit. But I think alcohol is really the master key to figure out first. And, that can really help with your sleep and your diet and your look and feel. And so, kind of first things first, kind of figure that out. And then that could, I think, lead to healthier habits in some of those other areas. But, initially, on vacation, the first month, yeah, it's kind of like you're getting your sea legs, you're figuring it out. So you're taking something away. So yeah, you might hit the sugar, you might hit the caffeine. I mean, I did, a little harder. You're just kind of trying to like, titrate whatever, however you can. But, that'll pass, and you'll kind of, and it's to be expected. And, after, a month or so, you can start kind of getting after it and just trying to sequence it. But I really feel that alcohol is kind of the master key that we're focused on figuring out. And so, I think, some of that, obviously weed is not good for your brain and hormones and stuff like that. But alcohol just really, I think, since it is socially acceptable, since you will find it everywhere, I think it's a really big one to figure out. So that's our focus area.
Yeah.
And those other ones are there as well. But
What were some things that you noticed that you like when you first started getting out of the alcohol? Like, how did it progress for you from your first month? You said you were trying to figure out your other, maybe more caffeine, more sugar, and then finally month 2, 6, 7, 8, and then finally your year. What was like what was your journey like? What were some realizations you had along the way?
yeah, it was a lot. I think for me, and I think a lot of people that are drinking regularly, it's kind of a weird existence in that, you find yourself on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and you're thinking back on the weekend. Again, you're not oftentimes present. So the key to happiness is being present and being okay with whatever happens, right? And so I think alcohol is pretty harmful to happiness in that respect, because it's continually putting you in negative states where you don't want to be present. You want to be projecting to the weekend, or you want to be reflecting back on the weekend that you just had. And so one example was I was playing tennis, and I was playing doubles, and this guy was serving at me pretty hard, and there's a guy at the net ready to like smash it back at me if I don't hit it right. And I was like, it was like a couple weeks in, and I'm like, I didn't have to like process all this extra stuff of like what I did last weekend. What am I going to do this weekend? Like, oh, I really need to get something going, because, I want to do stuff, but I also probably want to have some drinks too. So it kind of just, some of the mental load kind of just starts, reducing. And so, yeah, you kind of just calm, you're just kind of healing up a bit and leveling out really. And so, and I think initially people will identify that as dull, or this is slow, and it's easy to project out and say, oh, I'll never have any fun, I'll never do anything, I'll never have these wild times. But yeah, I think that's kind of just the program and your ego kind of just fighting to, hey, you can still have some drinks and whatever. So it's really giving yourself the time and space to, kind of figure out that dance and start just kind of working on yourself. But yeah, it's hard. It's been several years since I initially did it, but I think ultimately what I learned, like, I mean, I love parties when I was drinking, but I definitely had, you know, a fair amount of like nervous energy going into them. And, you know, depending upon how much food you ate and how much alcohol you drank and how quickly you had it, you can kind of go up real fast and crash down or wind up with a headache or wind up with a sour stomach, depending upon your physiology and how well you've been taking care of yourself. So, it just kind of, it was just very freeing because, you don't have to go to that party. You don't have to do this thing because you don't have that scratch. You don't have that itch to scratch. And when you do go, it's actually it was surprisingly enjoyable because yeah, it's, parties are about the people, not about the alcohol. And I think, we lose sight of that and we're conditioned to be like, hey, what are we drinking? What keg do we have? What cocktails are we having? And so, yeah, it's just, again, it's an exercise to like do something that you don't normally do. And it's awkward initially, and then you figure it out. And then figured out that there's a lot of good non-alcoholic beers. I figured out that there's a fair amount of muscle memory there that, when you've been conditioned to drink for decades and then you have one, you still get a little buzz. And once you're not in that dependent cycle anymore and you're not thinking about it, you don't really miss it that much, and um, yeah, so it's a trip. It's like crazy journey adventure. You'll discover a lot more about yourself because you're not masking, your symptoms, and you're a lot more present, and you're able to kind of, get out of ruts that you continually get stuck in with regular alcohol use. And the other obvious ones, obviously sleep was a big deal. Like I had sleep apnea, and I didn't sleep well for decades, like for at least 10, 15 years. And I tried CPAP machines and I was miserable. They didn't work. I tried different mouth guards, and nothing was addressing the root cause of it, which was probably my breathing. You overbreathe, you mouth breathe, you don't breathe through your nose, and you're revving up your system by overeating, over drinking, over caffeinating. And so your timing chain basically gets completely out of whack, and it's just like turning super fast, and so you're never able to like calm down. And so yeah, your body's just completely out of whack. So I was able to have my body kind of, heal and get better. And I just found that I was able to lose weight a lot better. My fitness levels really increased. My sports performance really improved. Like I played tennis. I kind of got advanced to this higher league. A lot less wear, a lot less aches, pains, and strains. You're just healthier. You're more level, and whatever. There's occasionally an edible or whatever. It's not like it's like total sobriety, but yeah, it kind of felt like the perfect crime, really, because I didn't feel like I was missing out, but yeah, it was groovy, and yeah, that's what it was like.
Nice, man. Yeah, I mean, sounds definitely like a pretty good time, and I've noticed these last couple workouts that I've had. The first run that I used to run a couple years ago when I had gotten out of the sport and was kind of figuring out, well, what am I going to do with my fitness now, and I felt really good at the time. I was also, very much so not drinking very much, taking care of myself a little bit better, and then I started drinking again, and then this last couple runs, you talking about mouth breathing, dude, I was like dying on my runs. I was like, why am I salivating so much? My jaw hurts. I'm spitting all the time. Like I got home and my head hurt, my jaw, my tongue felt so inflamed. Like it just felt so big in my mouth. I was like, this is disgusting. And it's like, why does this run so hard? It's like I'm just trying to get as much carbon dioxide out of my body as I possibly can, and not just like breathing through my nose, out through the mouth, right? In through the nose, out through the mouth, kind of regulating a little bit better. It was a terrible run, and I'm excited to, continue to get more and more fit. And then it feels good to like go to the beach party without having to drink, and then you're like you're looking slim, you're looking good, and it's like, man, how'd you do it? And it's just like just not fucking off as much, I guess. Like it's not that hard. Like it's just I'm not doing what you're currently doing. I'm not drinking. Like
Right.
like I feel like not much really has to change around the diet, like the day-to-day diet, because you're not eating the late night pizzas, you're not doing those late night McDonald runs or Taco Bell runs, like, or Del Taco if you're on the West Coast. Like like it's pretty easy to eat clean and eat well if you're just not drinking. Like it really is. It does create a pretty large ripple effect.
Oh, for sure. No, we got to get you on a booze vacation. Like I can I'd love to. You're my perfect guy for it.
What,
Yeah, I can get you some really great results.
so how does a booze vacation work exactly?
So, yeah, so we have free resources. So, again, if you can take some challenges, you can get a you versus booze PhD in 20 minutes where you can kind of do a kind of a self-assessment of your health and quality of life and kind of learn some stuff there. We have a manifesto where you can kind of where you kind of illustrate a little bit more of, the system you're in and what it's going to perpetuate and cause. And, if that inspires you to kind of, say, okay, I'm going to, really question, is booze really benefiting me? Because if you can't question that or challenge that, and if you still think booze is benefiting you, and then you try to take a break, it's just not gonna. You're gonna be pissing up wind. You're gonna find everybody's gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" So you really, you kind of need to come to terms with that, and hopefully get enough, you know, in effort and education to go, okay, yeah, no, this I'm not cool with this. I want to. And again, it's not a lifetime declaration. It's not like, any finger pointing. It's a break. And if you can't do it, you might have a problem. And if you have a problem, like that's a big problem.
Yeah.
But we have tools and resources in community. So yeah, we have playbooks on kind of how to navigate. It's kind of purposely kind of skinny and quicker and simplistic to kind of not overburden you. But yeah, we're building out, and then we're going to be building out a lot of health and wellness kind of tips and tricks. We also have a booze vacation 6-pack, which is kind of our online kind of paid offer that's much more robust. And we have a lot of free videos on how to navigate parties and how to update your mindset around, alcohol and fun and events and kind of just how to upgrade your life as quickly as possible. We have the community, and we're working to get some sponsors, and ultimately we're going to be changing and influencing people's lives and their buying habits. So they're going to be buying Vitamixes and Peloton bikes and supplements and workout equipment and taking different courses and meditations and different things to build themselves up. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of fun stuff.
It sounds like a good community, man. I think like as I continue to progress down this road, it's a good remembrance of like buying the supplements and buying like making my own protein shakes at home. And I used to have access to like a home gym, and so now rebuilding that kind of here. I moved to Las Vegas, and so even more so, like it's in your face everywhere. The casinos, I mean, you got free drinks. Everywhere. It's kind of the culture, and so it's it's a good reminder just like what those times were like to work out outside, like being in the sun, getting putting the sunglasses on, getting in shape, coming home and looking yourself in the mirror and just being like, man, I'm feeling good, looking good today. What else are we going to do today, right? It doesn't stop here at the workout. I know I'm not going to go out and drink, so like what are my events that I'm going to partake in this these next coming months? More podcasting. It's going to be how else I'm going to fill that time that's going to be ultimately productive for what I want long term. And so I booked six a week, 6 podcasts a week, and sometimes some weeks I have 9, and so it's just filling that time a little differently. That really does that aligns more with what I'm really looking for in life. And if I want to have a drink as a celebration at some point, then maybe, right? But I think why have I don't know. Why have the drink? There were times in life I would spend like $400 on a glass of whiskey. Just like stupid stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
why spend $400 on a glass of whiskey when I can go spend $400 on a flight, to New York or to San Diego and go get a lunch or a dinner at a nice little restaurant, or just go to a park or go watch a show. Something that'd be probably ultimately like adding to my creating, filling out the bucket list that I've always thought I was going to fill. And really, it's just using those funds towards something that's going to be more beneficial. And who knows, while I'm there, it can meet some really cool people. And again, it kind of helps the podcast, and then it helps me grow and develop as just a better human, man.
Yeah, living the life that you want and looking and feeling how you want and performing how you want. And, kind of to your point, a lot of my peers, they do well with their business, and they work out, they take supplements, they, maybe they take a meditation course or whatever it is. But, if you're still associating alcohol with fun, and if you're drinking it regularly, you're in your in your 30s or 40s, you're pissing up wind with your physiology, and it's going to negate your wins, and it's going to, you know, you're not going to get the results that you want, and so that's going to be demotivating. And then yeah, you might say, okay, well, I'll work a little bit more, make a little bit more money, and it's like you're investing in the wrong thing. You should be investing in your health and your wellness. And again, it's gonna, if you don't mind the store, like the thing that you're not worried about at all is going to be the only thing you're worried about. It's what you can find yourself in. And so that's why I kind of say alcohol is the master key, that if you don't learn how to turn that off and restore your systems while you can, it's going to be up to the pharmacists, and it's going to be a lot of side effects, and it's going to be really costly. And guess what? It's not going to address the issue. It's just going to mask the issue and create more issues. So, yeah, if you're doing it, do it right, and give this a try. And I think everybody would be pretty happy with the results.
I find a lot of value in community, and so I think about, like, what if it feels good to go to a fitness class. Like, let's say, I think a lot of people like to go to, even if it's Orange Theory, or if it's some sort of combat class, MMA, jiu-jitsu, like all these things that are pretty big. Today, or CrossFit, and you're going to these classes, powerlifting, and you start performing well, it feels good, and you take that momentum with you into your next meal, and then your sleep, and then your job, and you're just you walk around more confident. I kind of like telling people, like, yeah, I'm not drinking, like, why? It's like, because I don't want to, like, because I'm not just an unconscious human who's just like repetitively doing the same shit over and over, knowing that it's going to be bad for me. And it's like, right? Yeah, you say that out loud at a party, and they're like, "Dude, fuck you." It's like, it's not about is you can decide to join too. It's not that you can't, or it's not that I'm better than you. It's just I've made this decision, and so I don't know. It kind of feels good to just to be conscious and aware with what I'm doing and how it's going to affect me long term.
Yeah, and that's honestly, I think, a key feature. This VC guy, obviously, I didn't have much of a business model initially because it's free, but I roped him into doing it. I think he's 2 months in, and he was hitting on that. And that's kind of the beauty of the brand is, being able to say, "Nah, I'm on a booze vacation right now." They're like, makes people laugh, gets you off the hook, and they're like, and then it kind of intrigues them. And, again, not that everybody wants to like stand out and be like, hey, I'm doing this, and, I'm going against the grain or whatever, but it's kind of just, something that you could share. It's part of a community. And, oftentimes, hey, I got this race that in a couple months, or I got this wedding, or I'm turning this age, there's always a reason to look and feel good and work towards something. And it's just going to add fuel to the fire. And so that's a big part of it, is like being able to kind of, you know, people don't want to say, hey, my doctor said this, or my wife's nagging at me about that, or I'm trying to lose some weight. I mean, you could do all that stuff, but I think that's kind of a key feature, is kind of like this aspirational fun brand and what we're doing and what we're about. And yeah, we're just about kind of, kicking it up several notches and ultimately really delivering on what the beer commercial promises, but never really delivers. So we're going to be the ones that are going to be looking and feeling better and having fun and having more money and having more energy, and yeah, and still having the flexibility to ultimately do whatever the hell we want. But you have to buck that system, or you don't get it for very long.
So what do you got going on in your life, Clifford? Like how like what are some goals that you ended up accomplishing, or what are some new goals that you've either new hobbies you've gotten into because of this, or what's going on next for you in the next little bit?
Yeah, so I was turning 50, so I wanted to be able to still kind of feel and act like I am in high school. Me and my buddy went to Nicaragua. We surfed 6 to 10 foot waves in a third world country, and I didn't get killed. And we got some fun waves. So I did that for my 50th birthday.
That's cool.
And yeah, I'm playing tennis at a pretty high level. I'm pretty active. I'm healthy. I'm not on medications. I figured out my sleep issues, which was very vexing and very, yeah, really, really sucked not being able to sleep well, and really affected my performance and my mindset and productivity. And yeah, I have a consulting business. I design employee and executive pay plans for pre-IPO tech companies in California and the Silicon Valley. But yeah, kind of found my life's passion and work, and we've done a lot of good work with the marketing and creation of this movement. And obviously it's a tricky one to navigate, where you don't want to be a dick, you don't want to you don't want to be pointing fingers, but how do you broach the subject and not turn guys off? So it's been a fun marketing kind of exercise, just kind of how to message it and how to come up with offers and figure out it. And so, but no, it feels really good. We got people signing up every day for different adventures and vacations, and the impact that it's had, just on the people that have done it, have been really, really crazy, awesome. I think it's again, it's a very predictive model that everybody's just going to, you just have so much more time, money, and energy that exponentially kind of compounds. And so you could just do so much with and do a lot of good, and have a lot of fun, and really improve your performance in businesses. So yeah, it's fun to be a part of, and I'm really excited to see where it leads.
Beautiful. Where can people find you, man?
Boozevacation.com.
Cool. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I have you. You have my
I
email.
want you in. I want you in. I'm not playing. I'll send you the 6 pack and everything. And yeah, I'd love to have you in there. We could get you get that liver cleansed and strip some fat off that, and yeah, have you looking and feeling great.
Yeah, man, I'm game. I mean, what do we got to lose? I mean, what's a year of my life? I mean, at the very least,
Love it.
it
Oh
really.
man, you have a lot to gain, and yeah, you could always do whatever the hell you want after. But you know, I think it's important that you just stay on the journey and adventure and see where it leads, and make that decision when you get there, and not get in your head and be like, oh, I think I will, and then I'll do this, and people can talk themselves out of it. But yeah, once you kind of make that decision, it can be really freeing and a really fun adventure for sure.
Cool, man. I love to hear it. So boozevacation.com. Make sure you guys go check them out. And then we can all do it together. Well, we're gonna do this thing. So
Let's do it.
we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be a fun time. And then hopefully, as I continue to compete more and more, I think it'll be a good. I mean, it's been years since I've spent, like I said, I've taken an entire year off of alcohol. So I don't think I think it's rare for most people, to be honest with you. Like, so I think
Oh yeah.
it's another new fun challenge to add to my list of things. At the very least, it's something that I get to kind of write home about, and maybe kind of kind
The
of
other
fun.
neat thing about it is, yeah, you're kind of it's a way to kind of influence people, and broach a subject, and be an example, because I think that's one of the big problems I faced is guys weren't talking about it, they weren't trying it, and people weren't seeing the benefits. And so we need to start shining the light, and it's going to be very, very clear who's getting theirs and who isn't. And so the more guys we can do it, the faster we can get this going. And yeah, super pumped to have you.
I love it. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate the time, and I hope you guys go check them out again. Boozevacation.com. Do all the good things and get better. Just become a better person. There you go. All right. Thank y'all. Love you. Bye.
All right. Cheers. Appreciate it.